"Don't be gentle, I need you rough," she gasped, as the outlaw seized her waist in the rain. The rain started like a whisper. At first, it was just a few drops falling gently on the roofs and the streets, but then the sky darkened quickly, and the rain became stronger. It hit the ground in heavy sheets, turning the roads into shiny rivers. The wind blew hard, pushing the water in every direction. People hurried inside their homes, pulling curtains shut and closing doors. The town seemed to disappear under the storm. Mara ran. Her boots splashed through puddles as she moved quickly down the narrow streets. Her dress was soaked, and her hair stuck to her face. She could barely see through the rain, but she kept running anyway. Every step felt heavy, as if the water was trying to pull her down. But she did not stop. She could not stop. She heard voices behind her. Not far away, someone shouted her name. Then another voice answered. The sound of footsteps followed, fast and steady. Mara did not look back. She knew what she would see. She knew the danger was close. She had made a mistake, and now she was paying for it. Mara was not a bad person. She had never hurt anyone on purpose, but she had been forced into a difficult choice. The town's richest men were cruel and selfish. They had taken land from poor families and used the law to keep it. Mara had watched her own family struggle for years. She had seen children go hungry and mothers cry. She had seen the law protect the wrong people. So when she found a way to take something from the richest man in town, she did it. It was not a huge thing, but it was important. It was a paper, a map, a secret that could change everything. The map showed where the man hid his money and his illegal documents. It showed the truth about his crimes. Mara had taken the map and planned to show it to the people who needed it. She had planned to expose the lies and give the poor families a chance to fight back. She had thought she was doing the right thing. But now the law was chasing her. The rich man had hired men to bring her back. He wanted the map. He wanted to keep his secret safe. And he was willing to use force to get it. Mara turned into a narrow alley, hoping to lose them. The alley was dark and full of shadows. The rain made it slippery and dangerous. She pressed herself against the wall, trying to catch her breath. Her heart beat loudly in her chest. She listened. The voices grew louder. The footsteps were closer. The men were getting near. Mara moved again. She ran deeper into the alley, her mind racing. She thought of her family. She thought of the children in the town. She thought of the poor families who had suffered for so long. She thought of the map in her pocket, wrapped carefully in cloth. She could not let them take it. She could not let them win. Her foot slipped on the wet ground. She stumbled and almost fell. She grabbed onto a wooden crate to steady herself. The crate was old and rotten, but it held her weight. She pushed herself up and kept running. The alley ended in a small courtyard. It was empty, except for a few barrels and a broken wagon. The rain poured down harder here, like the sky was angry. Mara's clothes clung to her skin. Her breath came in short gasps. She looked around for a way out. There was a door on the far side of the courtyard. It was slightly open. Light shone through the crack, showing a warm glow inside. Mara's heart jumped. She moved toward it quickly, hoping to find shelter. As she reached the door, she heard a sound behind her. A soft, quiet sound. Not a shout, not a scream. Just a small noise that made her stop. She turned her head slightly. A shadow moved at the edge of the courtyard. A figure stepped forward. A man, tall and strong. His clothes were dark and wet. Now, his face was hidden under a hat, but his eyes were sharp and watchful. She had been expecting the lawmen, the hired men, the cruel men. But this man was different. There was something about him that felt dangerous but not cruel. He looked like someone who had lived a hard life, someone who had been through many storms. He watched her quietly. Mara held her breath. She could feel the map in her pocket pressing against her body. She could feel her own fear. She could feel the rain on her skin. The man spoke softly, almost gently. "You shouldn't be here."
Mara's voice shook.
"Who are you?" The man did not answer right away. He stepped closer, careful and slow. His boots made soft sounds on the wet ground. He stopped just a few feet away from her. Then he said, "You're running from them." Mara's eyes widened. She did not know how he knew. She tried to step back, but the rain made her feet slip. She stumbled again, and the man moved quickly. In one smooth motion, he reached out and grabbed her waist. The grip was firm, strong, and sudden. She expected pain. She expected anger. She expected the man to hurt her, but he did not. He held her tightly, but not in a way that caused harm. He held her like someone holding a friend from falling. The rain poured down around them. Mara's heart pounded in her chest. She tried to pull away, but the man's grip did not loosen.
"Let me go,"
she whispered. The man's voice was calm. "Not yet." Mara's mind raced. She looked behind her, toward the alley where the men were coming. She saw their silhouettes in the rain. They were close. Their voices were loud now, filled with anger. Mara felt a wave of panic. She struggled, trying to break free. "Please, I don't know who you are." The man's eyes moved quickly, scanning the courtyard and the door. He seemed to be thinking. Then he said, "You're not safe here." Mara's voice rose slightly. "Then take me somewhere safe." The man's grip tightened a little. "I will. But you must stay still." Mara's body trembled. She did not trust him, but she did not have any other choice. She could not run. She could not hide. The men were close. She had to do something, and fast. The man pulled her toward the door. He moved with speed and confidence, as if he had done this many times before. Mara stumbled behind him, still holding the cloth-wrapped map in her pocket. She tried to keep her balance, but the rain made everything slippery. The door opened wider. Inside was a small room with old wooden walls. The air smelled of dust and wood. There was a faint light, enough to see but not enough to feel. Safe. The man pushed Mara inside. He closed the door behind them and pressed his back against it. He held his breath, listening. Mara stood in the room, wet and shaking. She looked at the man. He finally removed his hand from her waist and stepped back. His face was still hidden in shadow, but his eyes were clear. He looked at her with a strange mix of curiosity and concern. Mara's voice was quiet now. "Pooh," the man sighed. "You can call me Jackson." Mara frowned. "Jackson, like the outlaw?" Jackson's expression did not change. "Yes." Mara's eyes widened. She had heard stories about him. People said he was a thief, a rebel, a dangerous man. They said he had broken the law many times. They said he was not to be trusted. But now he stood in front of her, holding her from harm. Mara looked at him carefully. "Why did you help me?" Jackson's eyes moved to the door, as if he was still listening for the men outside. "Because I don't like seeing people hurt." Mara's voice shook. "You don't even know me." Jackson nodded.
No, but I know you're scared.
Mara swallowed hard. She wanted to believe him, but she was not sure. She had been betrayed before. She had seen people pretend to be kind and then turn cruel. She had learned to protect herself. She held the map in her pocket, gripping it tightly. She did not want to lose it. She did not want to lose her chance to help the town. She looked at Jackson again. You can't just save me and leave. They will find me. Jackson's voice was calm. I'm not leaving. Mara's heart skipped a beat. What do you mean? Jackson stepped closer, his face still in shadow. I mean you're coming with me. Mara shook her head. No. I don't know you. I don't trust you. Jackson's eyes softened slightly. You don't have to trust me. You just have to come. Mara felt the fear rise again. She looked at the door, the only exit. She listened carefully. The voices outside were still loud. The men were still searching. They were getting closer. Mara realized she had no choice. She took a deep breath and nodded. Fine, but if you try to hurt me, I will fight back. Jackson's voice was quiet, almost gentle. I won't hurt you. Mara moved toward him, still shaking. She looked at his strong hands, his dark clothes, his serious face. She wondered what kind of life he had lived. She wondered why he was here, in this storm, in this dangerous moment. Jackson moved to the back of the room and opened a small trapdoor in the floor. He pulled out a rope ladder and lowered it down. The ladder looked old, but strong. It led to a dark tunnel below. Mara's eyes widened. Where is that going? Jackson glanced at her. Somewhere safe. Mara hesitated. The tunnel looked scary. It looked like a place where a person could get lost. But she also knew that staying here would be worse. The men outside would break the door soon. They would come inside and take her. She stepped onto the ladder. The wood was wet and slippery. She gripped the rope tightly and climbed down slowly. Jackson followed behind her, moving quietly. The tunnel was dark and narrow. Water dripped from the ceiling. The air was cold and heavy. Mara's heart beat loudly in her chest. She could feel her body shaking. They moved through the tunnel in silence. The sound of the rain above grew faint. The voices of the men searching for her disappeared. Mara finally spoke. Why are you helping me? Jackson paused for a moment. Because I don't like seeing people suffer. Mara looked at him. You said that before. Jackson nodded. It's true. Mara swallowed. But you're an outlaw. Jackson's voice was quiet. And you're running from the law. Mara frowned. That doesn't make it right. Jackson's eyes softened. Maybe, but sometimes the law is wrong. Mara thought about his words. She thought about the rich man who had stolen land from poor families. She thought about the way the law protected him. She thought about the way people suffered because the truth was hidden. She realized Jackson might be right. The law was not always fair. Sometimes it protected the wrong people. Mara kept climbing down the ladder. She felt the map in her pocket, still safe. She felt her own fear, still strong. But she also felt something else, a small spark of hope. Maybe she could still do what she had planned. Maybe she could still help the town. Maybe she could still make a difference. And maybe, just maybe, this outlaw was not the enemy she had thought he was. The tunnel felt like a hidden world. It was dark, quiet, and cold. The walls were made of stone and covered in damp moss. Water dripped slowly from the ceiling, creating small puddles on the ground. Mara's shoes made soft sounds as she walked. and her breath echoed in the narrow space. She kept moving, following Jackson. He walked confidently, like he had been here many times before. His steps were steady and calm. Mara tried to keep up, but she was tired and scared. Her body was still shaking from the rain and the fear of being caught. After a while, the tunnel opened into a larger space. It was like a hidden room beneath the town. There were old wooden beams, barrels, and crates stacked in corners. The air smelled of wood and dust, but it was warm compared to the cold tunnel. A small lantern hung on the wall, giving a soft, golden light. Mara blinked and looked around. She could see shelves with supplies, a few blankets, and a small table with a candle. It looked like someone had made a secret hideout here. Jackson walked to the table and placed his hand on it. He looked at Mara, waiting for her to feel safe enough to speak. Mara took a deep breath. She tried to calm herself. "This place, how did you find it?" Jackson smiled slightly. "It's not hard to find if you know the town well." Mara looked at him carefully. "You've been here before?" Jackson nodded. "Many times." Mara's mind raced. "Is this your hideout?" Jackson's smile disappeared. "It's a safe place. Not mine, not yours. Just a place where people can hide when they need to." Mara felt a strange feeling inside her. She had always believed that the world was black and white. The law was good, and the outlaws were bad. But now she realized the world was not that simple. People could be good or bad, no matter what name they had. She walked slowly toward the table and sat on one of the crates. The wood was cold, but she didn't care. She was too tired to feel anything else. Jackson stood near the lantern, watching her. He seemed calm, but his eyes were alert. It was clear he was still thinking about the danger outside. Mara finally spoke.
"You saved me. Why?" Jackson looked down at his hands.
"Because I know what it feels like to be chased." Mara's eyes widened. "Chased?" Jackson nodded.
Yes. I've been running for a long time.
Mara's voice softened. "Why?" Jackson sighed. "Because I don't agree with the people who control this town." Mara's heart beat faster. She had expected him to say something like, "I steal because I like it," or "I'm just a criminal." But he sounded different. He sounded like someone who was fighting for something. She looked at him. "You don't agree with them?" Jackson nodded. "They take what they want. They hurt people. They hide the truth. And the law protects them." Mara swallowed hard. "That sounds like what I was trying to stop." Jackson's eyes met hers. "Then you're not alone." Mara felt a strange mix of fear and hope. She had been alone for so long. She had carried the map in secret, afraid to tell anyone. She had tried to do the right thing, but she had been scared and unsure. Now, she realized, she might have found someone who understood. Jackson walked to the shelf and picked up a blanket. He handed it to Mara.
"You should dry off." Mara took the blanket and wrapped it around herself.
The fabric was rough but warm. She felt a small comfort in the simple act.
She looked at Jackson again. "What do you want from me?" she asked. Jackson's eyes were steady. "Nothing. Not yet." Mara frowned. "Then why are you helping me?" Jackson's voice was quiet. "Because I believe in what you're doing." Mara's eyes widened. "You know what I'm doing?" Jackson nodded. "I know you have something important, and I know you're not here for yourself." Mara's hands trembled slightly. "How do you know that?" Jackson looked at her. "Because you were willing to risk your life for it." Mara felt a lump in her throat. She had not expected him to see through her like that. She had not expected anyone to understand her. She looked down at her hands. "It's a map," she said softly. "A map that shows where the rich man hides his secrets." Jackson's eyes narrowed slightly.
The one who controls the town? Mara nodded. Yes.
He has documents, papers that prove he has stolen land and money from people. He uses the law to protect himself. Jackson's expression changed. It became serious. "So you took the map to expose him?" Mara nodded again. "Yes." Jackson sat down on a crate across from her. He leaned forward slightly. "You know what you're doing is dangerous." Mara's voice was firm. "I know." Jackson looked at her for a long moment. "Then you should know something else." Mara waited. Her heart beat faster. Jackson continued, "You are not the only one who wants to expose him." Mara's eyes widened. "Who else?" Jackson's voice was quiet. "There are people in the town who want to change things. People who are tired of being treated unfairly." Mara's mind raced. She had always believed she was alone. She had always believed no one else cared. But now she realized there were others. People who wanted justice. She felt a small spark of hope. Mara looked at Jackson. "Can I trust you?" Jackson's eyes softened. Trust is a big word. Mara nodded.
But I need to know if I can rely on you.
Jackson thought for a moment. Then he said, "You can rely on me to keep you safe. I will not let anyone hurt you." Mara felt a small relief. She nodded slowly. "Okay?" Jackson stood up. He walked to the corner of the room and pulled aside a wooden panel. Behind it was a small storage space.
Oh.
Inside were supplies, food, water, a few tools, and some clean clothes. He handed her a small bag. "Take this." Mara opened the bag. Inside were bread, dried fruit, and a small bottle of water. There was also a clean shirt and a pair of trousers. Mara's eyes widened. She had not expected to receive help like this. Jackson spoke softly. "You'll need to change. You can't stay in those clothes." Mara looked down at her wet dress. She nodded. "Why, thank you." She changed quickly, using the blanket as a cover. The clothes were simple, but they were clean and dry. She felt a small sense of dignity return. She looked at Jackson, feeling grateful. When she finished, she sat back down. She felt stronger now, but she still felt afraid. Jackson watched her.
We should move soon. Mara's eyes widened.
"Where?" Jackson stood and walked to the door. He listened carefully. "To a safer place, somewhere they can't find you." Mara's heart pounded. "But the map," Jackson turned to her. You still have it?" Mara nodded.
Yes, it's safe. Jackson nodded.
"Good. We will keep it safe." Mara looked at him. "Why are you helping me?"
Why risk your life? Jackson's voice was calm. Because I believe in the truth.
"And because I believe people deserve a chance." Mara felt a strange feeling in her chest. It was not fear. It was not anger. It was something like respect. She realized Jackson was not just an outlaw. He was someone who had chosen a difficult path because he believed it was right. Mara stood up. "Okay, I'm ready." Jackson nodded. He opened the door and looked outside. The rain had stopped, but the streets were still wet. The town was quiet as if it was holding its breath. Jackson stepped out first, moving carefully. Mara followed behind him. They climbed up a small staircase that led to the surface. The air felt fresh, but the sky was still gray. The town looked different from above. The streets were empty. The houses looked silent and still. Jackson led Mara through a narrow path behind the buildings. They moved quietly, staying out of sight. Mara felt her heart beat fast. She watched every shadow, every corner, expecting to see the men who had chased her. But there was no one. They walked for a while, then reached a small gate. Beyond it was a forest. The trees were tall and thick. The forest looked dark and mysterious, but also safe. It seemed like a place where someone could disappear. Jackson opened the gate and motioned for Mara to enter. "This is the safest place," he said. Mara looked at the forest.
You live here?
Jackson shook his head. "No."
I just know this place.
Mara walked into the forest, feeling the ground soft beneath her feet. The air smelled like pine and earth. She felt a strange calm. The forest felt like a hidden world, away from the town and its dangers. Jackson followed her. He moved silently, like he belonged here. They walked deeper into the forest until they reached a small clearing. In the middle of the clearing was a small cabin. It looked old, but strong. Smoke rose from the chimney, showing that someone was inside. Mara's eyes widened. "Who lives here?" Jackson smiled slightly. "A friend?" Mara looked at him. "You have friends?" Jackson nodded.
Yes. People who want to change the town too. Mara's heart beat faster.
She felt hope growing inside her. Maybe she was not alone after all. Maybe she could find help. Maybe the map could change everything. Jackson walked to the cabin door and knocked softly. The door opened slowly. An older woman appeared. She had kind eyes and a calm face. She looked at Mara and smiled gently. "You must be the one Jackson saved," she said. Mara nodded. "Yes?" The woman stepped aside. "Come in. You're safe here." Mara entered the cabin. Inside, it was warm and cozy. There was a small fire burning in the hearth. The furniture was simple but clean. The woman moved with care, like she had done this many times before. Jackson followed her inside and closed the door. The woman looked at Mara. "You're safe now." Mara's eyes filled with tears. She nodded. "Thank you." The woman smiled. "You're welcome. Now rest. You will need your strength." Mara sat down on a chair near the fire. She felt the warmth on her face. She looked at Jackson and the woman. She realized she was no longer alone. She had survived the rain. She had escaped the men. She had found a hidden place and a new hope. But she also knew that the real challenge was still ahead. She still had the map, and the truth still needed to be revealed. Mara sat by the fire, feeling the warmth spread through her body. The cabin felt safe, like a small world away from the storm. She looked around carefully. Everything inside was simple and neat. The furniture was old but clean. The walls were made of wood, and the air smelled like pine and fresh bread. The older woman stood near the stove, stirring a pot. She hummed quietly, like she had done this many times before. Mara watched her, feeling a strange calm. She felt safe, but she also felt nervous. She still had a mission. She still had a purpose. She still had the map. Jackson sat across from her, his face serious. He watched Mara with careful eyes, like he was making sure she was okay. Mara noticed how different he was from the stories she had heard. In the stories, he was a dangerous man. But here, He looked like someone who cared.
The older woman finally spoke. You can rest now.
You have been through a lot. Mara nodded.
Thank you, the woman smiled. You are brave. Mara looked down at her hands. I don't feel brave, Jackson spoke softly. Bravery isn't about feeling strong. It's about doing what is right, even when you are scared. Mara's eyes widened. She looked up at him. You really believe that? Jackson nodded. Yes. Mara felt a small warmth in her chest. She felt a new respect for him. She had expected him to be rough and uncaring. But he was not. He was gentle in his own way. The older woman set a bowl of soup in front of Mara. The soup smelled delicious. Mara picked up a spoon and took a small bite. The taste was simple, but comforting. She felt her body relax a little. As she ate, she thought about the map. She had been carrying it for days, and now she was finally in a safe place. She wondered what would happen next. She wondered how she could expose the truth. Mara looked up at the woman. How long have you been helping people? The woman smiled softly. For a long time. Many people come here when they need help. Mara nodded. Why do you help them? The woman's eyes grew serious. Because no one should be alone when they are in trouble. Mara felt a lump in her throat. She had been alone for so long. She had never had anyone to trust. She had never had someone to help her. She looked at Jackson. What about you? Why do you help people? Jackson's eyes were calm. Because I know what it feels like to be alone. Mara's heart tightened. She realized Jackson had a story too. He had been through pain. He had been chased. He had been misunderstood. She wanted to know more.
Mara, the woman said gently, you can tell us your story if you want. We are listening.
Mara hesitated. She did not want to share everything.
She did not want to reveal her fears, but she also felt that sharing might help her feel stronger. She took a deep breath. I took the map because the rich man in town is hiding something. He has been stealing land from poor families. He has been using the law to protect himself. The people are suffering and no one is doing anything. The woman nodded. Yes.
We know. Mara's eyes widened.
You know? The woman smiled. We have heard the stories. We have seen the people suffer. That is why we have been waiting for someone like you. Mara felt a mixture of surprise and hope. Waiting for me? Jackson leaned forward.
Not just you, waiting for the truth.
Mara looked at him.
What do you mean? Jackson's voice was calm.
The town has been living under a lie. The rich man controls everything. He makes people believe he is good. But he is not. Mara felt her heart beat faster. Then what do we do? The woman spoke softly. We gather evidence. We show the truth to the people. We do it carefully so no one gets hurt. Mara nodded slowly. But how? The rich man has power. Jackson's eyes were steady. Power is not always stronger than the truth. But we need proof. Jackson nodded. Yes, that's why the map is important. Mara held her hand to her pocket where the map was hidden. She felt its weight. She felt its importance. The woman spoke again. You should rest tonight. Tomorrow we will plan. Mara nodded. She finished her soup and stood up. She felt tired, but also ready. She looked at the fire and felt the warmth. She felt the safety. She looked at Jackson.
Thank you for saving me. Jackson nodded. You don't need to thank me. Mara smiled slightly.
I do. I would have been caught if you didn't help. Jackson looked away for a moment. "I'm glad you're safe." She felt a connection to him. She did not understand it, but she felt it. After a while, Mara went to a small room in the cabin. The room had a simple bed and a small window. She lay down and closed her eyes. The sound of the fire and the soft wind outside made her feel calm, but she could not sleep. Her mind was full of thoughts. She thought about the town. She thought about her family. She thought about the people suffering. She thought about the map. She thought about Jackson. She wondered if she could trust him completely. She wondered if he was truly on her side. She wondered if he had his own plans. She opened her eyes and looked at the window. The sky outside was dark, but the stars were visible. The night felt quiet and peaceful. She felt a small hope that tomorrow would bring a new beginning. She finally closed her eyes and tried to sleep. The next morning, Mara woke up to the sound of birds outside. The sun was shining through the window, making the room feel warm. She sat up slowly and stretched. She felt stronger than the day before. She walked out of the room and returned to the main area of the cabin. The older woman was already awake, preparing breakfast. The smell of bread filled the air. Jackson was sitting near the table, looking at a small map. He looked up when Mara entered. "Good morning," he said. Mara nodded. "Good morning." The woman handed Mara a piece of bread. "Eat. You will need your energy." Mara took a bite and felt the taste of the bread. It was simple, but it tasted like home. After breakfast, Jackson stood up. "We should talk." Mara nodded. "About the map?" Jackson nodded.
Yes, and about what we will do next.
She sat down at the table, ready to listen. Jackson placed a small piece of paper on the table. It was a map of the town, drawn with careful lines. Mara looked at it and recognized the streets. She saw the town square, the river, and the buildings. Jackson pointed to a building near the center of the town. "That's where the rich man keeps his documents." Mara's eyes widened. "The office?" Jackson nodded.
Yes, that's the place we need to reach. Mara felt a wave of fear.
"But it's guarded." Jackson's eyes were calm. "Yes, but not all guards are the same." Mara frowned.
What do you mean?
Jackson looked at her. "There are people who work for the rich man because they have no choice."
They need money to feed their families, but some of them are not loyal.
Mara's eyes widened. "You think someone will help us?" Jackson nodded. "I know someone will help." Mara felt a small hope. She looked at Jackson carefully. "Who?" Jackson's voice was quiet. "A man named Thomas. He works in the office. He doesn't like the rich man. He is waiting for someone to help him." Mara's heart raced. "How do you know him?" Jackson smiled slightly. "I've met him before." Mara looked at him. "Why didn't you tell me earlier?" Jackson sighed. "Because I wanted to make sure you were safe first." Mara nodded slowly. She understood. Jackson had been careful. He had not rushed into things. He had protected her. She felt a new respect for him. Jackson continued. "Tomorrow we will go to the town. We will meet Thomas."
He will help us get inside the office. Mara nodded.
"And then?" Jackson looked at her. "Then we will find the documents. We will show the truth." Mara's eyes filled with determination. "Yes, we will." The older woman spoke softly. "Remember, you must be careful. The rich man has power. He will not give up easily." Jackson looked at her. "You are ready." Mara took a deep breath. She felt her fear, but she also felt courage. She knew the road ahead would be difficult. She knew there would be challenges, but she also knew she was not alone. She looked at the map in her pocket. She felt its weight. She felt its importance, and she felt the hope that the truth would finally be revealed. The next day the sun rose bright and clear, the sky was blue, and the air felt fresh. The forest looked calm, and the cabin seemed peaceful. But Mara knew the peace was temporary. The town was still waiting, the truth was still hidden, and the rich man was still in control. Mara woke up early, feeling nervous. She dressed quickly and went to the main room. Jackson was already awake, preparing some supplies. He moved with purpose, like he had done this many times before. The older woman was there too, packing a small bag. She looked at Mara and smiled gently. "Today is a big day," she said. Mara nodded. "Yes, I feel it." Jackson looked at Mara.
"Are you ready?" Mara took a deep breath. "Yes."
"Take this." Mara opened it and saw a few items: a small knife, a piece of cloth, and a candle. She frowned. "Why do I need these?" Jackson smiled slightly. "You might need to defend yourself, not with violence, but with protection." Mara nodded slowly. She trusted him, but she still felt nervous. She knew the rich man would not give up easily. She knew he would try to stop them. They finished packing and left the cabin. The forest looked bright and welcoming in the morning light. The path was clear, and the air smelled like fresh leaves. Jackson led Mara through the trees, moving carefully. They walked for a while, and Mara noticed how different the forest felt. It was quiet, but not empty. Birds chirped softly. The sunlight moved through the leaves like a golden curtain. After a while, they reached the edge of the forest. Beyond it was the town. The buildings looked small from here. The town looked peaceful, like nothing was wrong. But Mara knew the truth. Jackson stopped near a small bridge. He looked at Mara and spoke softly. "We should go slowly."
We don't want to draw attention. Mara nodded.
"Okay." They crossed the bridge and entered the town. The streets were busy with people going about their daily lives. Some were carrying goods, some were talking in small groups, and others were working in shops. The town looked normal, but Mara felt a strange tension in the air. She could feel the eyes of people watching, even if they did not look directly at her. Jackson walked beside her, moving confidently. Mara felt safe with him, but she also felt the weight of the mission. She had to stay calm and focused. They reached a small inn near the town center. Jackson stopped and looked at Mara. "This is where we meet Thomas." Mara's heart beat faster. "Thomas?" Jackson nodded. "Yes, he works in the office." Mara swallowed. "How will we meet him?" Jackson looked around carefully. "We will go inside and sit quietly. He will find us." Mara felt nervous. She did not know what Thomas would look like. She did not know if he would help. She did not know if he was truly loyal. They entered the inn. The air inside was warm and filled with the smell of food. People were talking and laughing. The noise was loud. Mara felt her heart beat faster. She tried to stay calm. Jackson led her to a corner table. They sat down quietly. Mara looked around, trying to spot anyone who might be watching them. She saw men in dark clothes, women with baskets, and children running around. Everything looked normal, but Mara knew that danger could hide anywhere. They waited. After a few minutes, a man approached their table. He was tall and thin, with dark hair and a serious face. His clothes looked simple but clean. He looked around carefully before speaking. "You are Jackson," he said softly. Jackson nodded. "Yes." The man looked at Mara. "And you are the one with the map?" Mara's heart skipped a beat. She felt a mixture of fear and relief. She looked at the man. "Are you Thomas?" The man nodded. "Yes, I am Thomas." Mara took a deep breath. "You will help us?" Thomas looked at her carefully. "Yes, but you must be careful. The rich man has eyes everywhere." Mara nodded. "I know." Thomas leaned closer. "Follow me." Mara and Jackson followed Thomas through the inn and out a back door. They walked through a narrow alley and reached a small building behind the office. The building looked old, but it was quiet and hidden. Thomas opened the door and led them inside. The room was small and simple. There was a table, a chair, and a small lamp. Thomas closed the door behind them. He looked at Mara. "You need to know something." Mara nodded. "What?" Thomas spoke quietly. "The rich man is planning something. He is going to move the documents tonight. He doesn't want anyone to find them." Mara's heart raced. "Tonight?" Thomas nodded. "Yes, that means we must act quickly." Mara looked at Jackson. He nodded, understanding the urgency. Mara felt a surge of fear and determination. They had to act now. Thomas continued, "I can help you get inside the office, but you must be careful. The guards are watching the main entrance. There is a back door, but it is locked." Jackson spoke calmly. "How can we get in?" Thomas looked at them. "There is a small window in the back."
It is hidden behind a curtain.
"I can unlock it from inside, but you must be quick." Mara nodded. "Okay?" Thomas handed Jackson a small key. "This will open the window." "Oh, but you must be careful. If anyone sees you, they will raise the alarm." Jackson took the key and nodded. "Thank you." Thomas looked at Mara. "I will stay here and watch. If anything goes wrong, I will try to help." Mara felt a small relief. "Thank you." Thomas looked at them both. "Go now." Mara and Jackson left the room quietly. They moved through the alley and reached the back of the office. The building looked tall and strong. The windows were high and the walls were thick. Mara felt her heart beat fast. She looked at Jackson. "Are you sure this will work?" Jackson nodded. "Yes, trust me." Mara nodded and took a deep breath. She watched Jackson carefully as he approached the back window. He used the key and unlocked it quietly. The window opened just enough for them to slip inside. Mara climbed in first. The room inside was dark and quiet. The air smelled of paper and old wood. She could see shelves filled with files and documents. The room looked like a place where secrets were kept. Jackson climbed in behind her. He looked around carefully, making sure no one was there. Mara felt her heart beat fast. She felt the weight of the mission. They moved quietly through the room, searching for the documents. Mara felt her hand shake. She tried to stay calm. Then she saw it. A large cabinet in the corner of the room. It looked important. It looked like it held something valuable. Mara approached it slowly. Jackson watched her. "Be careful." Mara nodded. "Ha ha 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 ha." She opened the cabinet door slowly. Inside were many papers and folders. She saw the rich man's seal on some of them. She felt her heart race. This was it. This was the proof. Mara began to look through the folders, searching for the documents that would expose the truth. She moved quickly, but carefully. She did not want to make noise. Jackson stood guard watching the door. He listened for any sounds. The room was quiet, but Mara could feel the tension in the air. After a few minutes, Mara found a folder with the title, Land Ownership. She opened it and saw pages filled with signatures, stamps, and numbers. She realized the documents were real. The rich man had been hiding the truth for years. Mara felt a wave of emotion. She felt anger, but also relief. She had finally found the proof. She turned to Jackson. "This is it. This is the evidence." Jackson nodded. "We need to take it." Mara nodded. She carefully took the folder and placed it in her bag. She looked around the room one more time. Suddenly, she heard a sound. A footstep. Mara froze. Jackson's eyes widened. He moved quickly and pulled Mara behind a large shelf. They both held their breath. The footsteps grew closer. Mara's heart pounded in her chest. She felt her hands shake. She tried to stay calm. She looked at Jackson, who nodded slightly, telling her to stay still. The footsteps stopped near the door. A voice spoke softly. "Is someone there?" Mara felt a cold chill. She could not move. She could not speak. Jackson whispered, "Stay quiet." Mara nodded. The voice continued, "I heard something. Someone is in the room." Mara felt her heart beat faster. She could hear the sound of the person moving. The person was searching. Jackson held his breath. Mara held hers too. The person moved closer to the shelf where they were hiding. Mara could feel her body trembling. Then the person stopped. Mara felt a small drop of sweat on her forehead. The person turned away and walked toward the window. Mara and Jackson waited for a moment, then slowly moved out from behind the shelf. Mara's hands were shaking, but she felt relief. They had not been caught. Jackson looked at Mara.
"We need to leave now." Mara nodded. She moved quickly toward the window.
Jackson followed. They climbed out carefully and slipped into the alley. Mara's heart was still pounding. She felt the weight of the folder in her bag. She felt the fear of being caught, but she also felt a strong sense of accomplishment.
They had done it. They had the proof.
Now, the truth could be revealed. Jackson and Mara walked quickly through the alley, away from the office. They moved carefully, staying out of sight. Mara felt her heart calm down slowly. "We did it," she whispered. Jackson nodded. "Yes. Now we must share it." She felt a small smile on her face. She felt hope, but she also knew the next step would be difficult. The rich man would not let the truth be revealed easily. He would try to stop them. He would try to protect his secret. Mara looked at Jackson. "What happens next?" Jackson's eyes were calm. "Next, we show the people." Mara nodded. Yes. They continued walking, carrying the folder carefully. The town looked peaceful, but Mara knew it was not. The truth was hidden, but now it was close to being exposed. And the moment of change was coming. Mara and Jackson walked through the town with careful steps. The sun was beginning to set, and the streets were growing quieter. The people were returning home, finishing their work and preparing for the night. The town looked peaceful, but Mara felt the tension inside her chest. She knew the truth was close to being revealed. She knew the rich man would try to stop them. She knew the next hours would decide everything. Jackson led her through narrow streets and hidden paths. He knew the town well, and he moved like he belonged there. Mara followed him, feeling the weight of the folder in her bag. She could feel the papers inside, filled with the truth. She felt a mix of fear and hope. Finally, they reached the edge of the town where the forest began. The cabin was hidden behind trees, and the older woman was waiting outside. She looked at Mara and smiled gently. "You're back," she said. "We have the evidence." The woman's eyes widened. "You did it." Mara nodded again. "Yes." Jackson stepped forward. "Now we must share it." The older woman nodded. "We must gather the people." Mara looked at her. "How?" The woman smiled. "We will call them. We will gather them in the town square."
We will show them the truth. Mara felt her heart beat faster.
But what if the rich man stops us? The woman's voice was calm. Then we will stand together.
Mara nodded. She felt a small courage inside her. She realized she was not alone. She realized the people could be stronger together. They walked to the cabin and entered. The cabin felt warm and safe. The older woman placed the folder on the table. She opened it carefully and looked at the documents. "These are real," she said softly. "This is proof." Mara felt a relief. She had been afraid the documents might not be enough, but now she knew the truth was in her hands. The older woman turned to Jackson. "We need to prepare the people." Jackson nodded. "I will go to the town and spread the word." Mara looked at him. "Be careful." Jackson smiled slightly. "I will." Jackson left the cabin and disappeared into the forest. Mara watched him go, feeling a strange mix of worry and trust. She trusted him, but she also knew the danger. The older woman sat beside Mara.
You should rest. You will need your strength. Mara shook her head.
"No, I want to help." The woman smiled. "Then you will help by staying calm. You will help by being ready." Mara nodded slowly. She sat beside the table looking at the folder. She thought about her family. She thought about the people suffering in the town. She thought about the rich man and his lies. She thought about the risk she had taken. She felt a sense of pride. She had done something important. She had taken a step toward justice. The night grew darker, but the cabin remained bright with the fire. Mara sat quietly, waiting. She listened to the sounds outside. She could hear the wind in the trees and the soft sounds of the forest animals. The silence felt calm, but Mara knew it was only a temporary calm. She thought about the town square. She thought about the people. She thought about how they would react when they saw the truth. She wondered if they would believe her. She wondered if they would be afraid. She looked at the folder again. She felt its weight. She felt the power it held. A few hours later, she heard footsteps outside. She stood up quickly and went to the door. The older woman opened it and looked out. "Jackson?" Mara asked. The woman nodded.
Yes, he is back. Mara stepped outside. Jackson stood in the dark, his face serious.
He looked tired but determined. "I have spoken to some people," he said.
They are ready. Mara's eyes widened. Ready for what? Jackson's voice was calm.
Ready to stand together, ready to listen to the truth. Mara felt a small hope. "Where are they?" Jackson pointed toward the town. "In the square. They are gathering." Mara took a deep breath. "Then we should go." The older woman nodded. "Yes."
We must go now. They left the cabin and walked through the forest toward the town.
The night air was cool, and the moonlight guided their path. Mara felt the fear inside her, but she also felt a new strength. They reached the town square. It was quiet at first, but then people began to appear. They came from the streets, from their homes, and from the shops. They looked curious and worried. They stood together in small groups, whispering. Mara felt her heart beat faster. She looked around and saw faces she recognized. Some were people who had suffered. Some were people who had been silent for too long. Some were people who had lost hope. Mara stepped forward. She felt the eyes of the crowd on her. She felt the weight of their expectations. She felt the fear of being judged. Jackson stood beside her, silent and calm.
Oh.
He looked at the people and nodded slightly, as if telling them to be brave. The older woman stepped forward too. She raised her hand and spoke in a clear voice. "People of the town," she said, "we have come to share the truth." The crowd grew quiet. The silence was heavy. Mara felt her heart beat loudly in her chest. The older woman continued. "For many years, the rich man has used the law to hurt the poor. He has stolen land and money. He has hidden the truth. But tonight, we have proof." Mara stepped forward and held the folder up. The crowd gasped. Many people stared in shock. Mara opened the folder and began to read aloud. She read the names, the documents, the signatures. She read the proof of the lies. She read the truth. The people listened carefully. Their faces changed. Some looked angry. Some looked sad. Some looked surprised. But they all listened. Mara felt a tear fall from her eye. She continued reading, even though her voice shook. She knew this was the moment she had been waiting for. She knew this was the moment that could change everything. When she finished reading, the crowd remained quiet for a moment. Then, one person spoke.
"This is true," the person said.
Another voice joined. "Yes, I have seen this happen." The crowd began to murmur. The people looked at each other. They looked at Mara. They looked at the documents. Mara felt a sense of relief. The truth was finally being seen. Then, a voice from the crowd shouted, "Where is the rich man?" The crowd turned toward the direction of the rich man's house. People began to move, slowly but surely. They were not angry or violent. They were simply determined. Mara felt a small fear. She knew the rich man would not accept this. He would try to stop them. He would try to hide the truth again. But she also knew the people were now awake. They were no longer silent. They were no longer afraid. Jackson stepped forward and spoke to the crowd. "We are not here to fight.
We are...
The crowd nodded. They listened to him. They felt the strength in his voice. They felt the calmness. Mara felt a new respect for him. She realized he was not just an outlaw. He was a leader. He was someone who believed in the people. The crowd began to walk toward the rich man's house. They moved together like a single group. They were not violent. They were not loud. They were simply strong. Mara walked with them, holding the folder close. She felt her heart beat fast. She felt the fear, but she also felt the courage. When they reached the rich man's house, the doors were closed. The windows were shut. The house looked quiet, like nothing was happening inside. Mara stepped forward and knocked on the door. The door opened slowly. The rich man stood there, surprised. His face looked pale. He looked angry, but also afraid. He looked at Mara and the crowd. He saw the documents in her hands. He saw the people behind her. He realized the truth was out. The rich man tried to speak, but the words did not come. He looked at the people and saw their faces. He saw the anger and the disappointment. He saw the courage. Mara spoke softly but firmly. "The truth is here." The rich man's eyes widened. He looked at the documents and then at the people. He realized he could not hide any more. The crowd remained calm. They did not shout. They did not push. They simply stood together, united. The rich man finally spoke. "This is not true." Mara looked at him. "The proof is in the documents." The rich man's face turned red. He looked at the crowd and tried to speak again. "You cannot do this. I am the law." Jackson stepped forward. "The law is for everyone, not just for you." The rich man looked angry. He tried to close the door, but the people blocked him. He realized he had lost control. Mara felt a sense of victory. She felt the truth rising like the sun. She felt the power of the people. The rich man finally understood that his time was over. He looked at Mara and Jackson. He looked at the people. He realized the town had changed. The rich man stepped back and closed the door. He did not fight. He did not argue. He simply accepted the truth. The crowd stayed calm. They did not harm him. They did not celebrate loudly. They simply stood together, feeling the moment. Mara felt tears in her eyes. She looked at the people and saw hope. She saw the future. Jackson stood beside her. He looked at her and smiled slightly. Mara smiled back. The truth had been revealed. The town had awakened, and the people were no longer afraid.